All right, I'm now joined by the MKMVA NEC member and a campaigner for the Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma campaign, Carl Niehaus. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. And how are you doing?
I'm very well. Did you sleep? I mean, there was a talk around voting being postponed to this morning, and then that decision was rescinded, and we started seeing delegates that voting around 1 a.m.
No, the conference decided that it was going to continue with voting immediately. Conference is the highest decision-making body when it is in session, the plenary, and therefore we decided voting immediately. So if you ask me if I've slept about an hour, but that's good enough, and I see your eyes look quite bright and shiny, and I hope mine are too.
Yeah. We've been seeing a lot of caucuses. I suppose most of the delegates that are in support of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma meeting. Are you able to tell us what those have been about?
Well, look, caucuses meet on all sides. In the side of Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, also Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. That is part of the ANC conference character. It's happened in many other conferences before. So what happens there is basically just a discussion about the voting process, making sure that those particular regions and those provinces that support her keep our members properly updated about what's going on so that there's no confusion and that there's no rumors. Because I think the most important thing is that everyone should be on the same copybook. There should be no suspicions. All of us should be in agreement that this conference and the processes that play itself out here are clean and clear and will deliver proper results.
And you're not worried about losing some of the members or supposed delegates that initially had agreed or had been mandated to vote for Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma? By holding those caucuses, are you not making sure also that you keep your delegates in check and make sure they still hold the same mandate?
Look, we respect delegates. And I don't believe, contrary to what many people are saying, that our delegates will allow themselves to be bought or will allow themselves to be persuaded differently. Delegates come here with mandates from branches. These are serious people. These are some of the most dedicated cadres of the African National Congress. And we expect from them to carry out those mandates. And beyond that, I don't think we should cast aspersion on the delegates and on their integrity.
You've been running a campaign. I mean, you've been working on Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's campaign for some time now. Branch nominations are now out. You've got 1,469 branch nominations for Cyril Ramaphosa and 1,094 for Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Are you disappointed?
No, I'm not. I've always known that branch nominations are not the same as delegates. And remember, every branch nomination only counts for one. But branches, depending on their size, have many delegates. And in this conference, there are many big branches that support Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. So there are many delegates that come from those branches. So at the end of the day, it is very important to understand that the votes that count are the votes from delegates. So let us not try to make a prediction on the basis of the nominations. I've consistently tried to avoid making predictions on the basis of the number of nominations that particular candidates has. I understand that candidates will try to use, especially if it looks if they're in the lead with the number of nominations, that they will try to use that as propaganda. But that is only what it is. It is propaganda. It doesn't yet reflect the reality of the delegate vote, which is critical.
There's been a lot of talk around the unity of the organization, many calls coming from the provincial ANC chairs about Cyril Ramaphosa and Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma sitting down and coming up with, I suppose, an agreement so that there can be a united slate. Has Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and the campaigners been, I suppose, happy with those processes? Have they been supporting those processes?
Well, look, there have been many discussions, but discussions do not necessarily lead to arrangements. And ultimately, we have consistently believed in the campaign of Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma that there has to be a democratic process. We do not agree that there should be arranged tickets for leadership, but that the branches must decide through their delegates in an elective process who will be the next president. That is exactly what is happening now. But once this election process has played itself out, it is critically important that every candidate must be prepared to accept the outcome of the elections. That is why Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was the first candidate that went on record as saying she will accept the outcome of the election, whether it is in her favor or in the favor of another candidate. And she said, those who lose must be prepared to follow, those who win must be prepared to lead, but all of us must work together to make sure that the African National Congress is first and foremost succeeding.
I've seen your name also being bandied around the possibility of you being in the NEC when Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, if Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma wins. Are you willing to serve in the NEC, and are you willing to serve under her as president of the country if she wins in any portfolio?
Let me just say, it's not dependent on whether Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma gets elected as president or not, whether I will be nominated onto the national executive, at least as a candidate. I am nominated, and I'm on record as having said that I'm prepared to stand. I've signed already my acceptance form. So the delegates will decide whether I am going to be elected as a member of the national executive, and yes, of course, I will be prepared to serve under Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as president. But if Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa gets elected as president and I still get elected onto the national executive, I will also be prepared to serve under his leadership.
This was a bruising contest. My last question. How is the ANC going to come out of this and still be united? Because it hasn't been united over recent times.
Look, I think it is very important for us to first of all acknowledge that there are deep divisions. It doesn't help to beat around the bush about that. And then once we acknowledge that, to say, what are the critical things that we have to do to try and bridge these divisions? The most critical thing is going to be policy. And that is why in this conference, we cannot just concentrate on the election process of leadership. We must concentrate on our policy positions. That is why the commissions, the Commission on Organizational Renewal, the Commission on economic transformation, especially the issues around the radical economic transformation, are going to be critical. If we can agree on policy, we will eventually be able to move beyond the personalities and the individuals and concentrate and work on the implementation of policy. The ANC has to become an organization of implementation. We are very good with taking resolutions. We've got some of the most beautiful resolutions that any political party in South Africa can wish to have. But we are not good on implementation. That is the criticism that President Zuma expressed, and that is the big challenge, and that is how unity will be forged through implementation and through policy agreement.
Just lastly, before I let you go, do you think that reports and I suppose allegations that you are a fraud have damaged her campaign?
No, I don't think so. I have dealt with those issues in the past. Those issues are behind me. And I've been asked to do a job by Umkhonto we Sizwe Military Veterans Association, which is one of the strongest supporters of this campaign. I've done it to the best of my ability. I'm happy that Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and the rest of the team are happy with the work I've done.